Hi everybody. Hey, I was getting a lot of questions on my YouTube video about Rosh Hashanah, and I thought maybe there's a very brief segment in one of these Mark Biltz DVDs that I watched that might help you to understand a little bit more about the importance of Rosh Hashanah, the importance of the Feasts of the Lord. This is just a segment of one of his, it's actually a bonus CD. It came with the 7 Feasts of the Lord teaching that I had purchased. And anyway, Mark talks about the solar and lunar eclipses. Jesus referenced the moon turning to blood and the sun being darkened, which Mark was saying these are solar and lunar eclipses. So he went out to the NASA website and did some research just to see what he could find. And when he converted the dates from the Julian calendar to the Hebrew dates, he began to see a pattern emerge, and it's pretty interesting. Now, he's not naming dates. He's not saying, you know, the rapture is going to happen at this time or that time. But he is saying to watch. I mean, he's seeing this pattern. He's seeing what looks like a countdown. But I'll let you watch it. You decide for yourself. But like I said, I think it's pretty exciting information when we realize that the sun and the moon and the stars, the Bible tells us, were given for signs and seasons. You know, seasons actually meaning the feasts of the Lord, and the signs meaning they're to alert us to His coming, which is how the Magi found Jesus, you know, at His first coming. And so if we are wise, if we listen to people like Mark Biltz, you know, we can actually be prepared and maybe understand a little bit better, you know, what the Lord's trying to tell us. So anyway, I'm going to let you go ahead and watch this. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and I will get it started.
But I did something no one's ever done before. When you look at all the dates, they're all on the pagan calendar. I converted them to the Hebrew dates, and this phenomenal pattern fell into place that you only see on a biblical calendar. But God set the sun, the moon, and the stars according to the biblical calendar. So I said, duh, let's convert to dates and see if there's a pattern that will signal the time of His coming. Wait till you see the second half, what I saw. Now look at this, 1 Thessalonians 5:1-6. It says, of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord comes as a what? And everyone says, oh, he comes as a thief in the night. Yeah, well, let's read the rest of the sentence. But when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon you as travail upon a woman with child, and they'll not escape. But now look at this. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. So he comes as a thief in the night to the foolish virgins, to the evil servants, to the dead church, to the lukewarm church. He doesn't come as a thief in the night to those that are watching. What a concept. He says, you're children of the light, children of the day. We're not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us do what? Now, Matthew 2:2. We saw it, Messiah is coming. Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. They knew how to discern the signs in the sky. Now look at Isaiah 61:2. Well, let's stop there. I'm going to come back. I want to start with this when we come back. Okay, because it kind of sets us up also for the second part. But wait till you see what I saw. Oh, man, this rocks. I mean, I was knocked off. My jaw hit the floor. 61:2, because the Lord quoted it in Luke when he stood up and he read from Isaiah 61. It says he came to proclaim, well, in Isaiah it says, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. That's what it says in Isaiah 61:2. And Luke, Yeshua, when he reads this, he stops in the middle of the verse when it says to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. He stopped right there. Why did he stop there and not read the rest? Because the day of vengeance hadn't come. That's for the second coming. The first coming is proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. The second coming, so here you see 2,000 years separate one verse with a comma. Okay? Now, when he proclaimed the acceptable year of the Lord, this isn't on your notes, but many of you know it, but it's in Leviticus 25, that the year of Jubilee is only proclaimed on Yom Kippur. Okay? So here the Lord begins his ministry on the feast of Yom Kippur, proclaiming the acceptable year of the Lord and preaching liberty to the captives. Which is another reason why I think he's going to return on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Okay? That the Day of Atonement, see what's the difference between Passover and Yom Kippur? A lot of people are confused. What is the difference? Well, Passover, basically, think of everyone being saved. Okay, that's what the Lord, he died for us. But Yom Kippur is different. Yom Kippur was the atoning for the nation of Israel specifically. They were to be atoned for on Yom Kippur as priests, so that 5 days later on the Feast of Tabernacles, they could atone for the nations of the world. So Sukkot speaks of the nations of the world being atoned for, and Yom Kippur speaks of the nation of Israel specifically. So the spring feasts were the individual salvation. The fall feasts speak of national salvations, which is where it talks about the separation of the sheep and the goats in the New Testament. Everyone thinks it's individuals. It's not. It says the nations are gathered before him, and it separates the nations as sheep and goat nations. How you've treated my brethren, the Jews, is how your nation is going to be treated. But now in Revelation 12:6, look at what it says. It talks about the woman fleeing to the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, and they will feed her 1,260 days. Okay? So you see 1,260 days. Now, in Revelation 12:14, the same chapter, a little few verses down, it talks about how she was given 2 wings of great eagle, that she might fly to the wilderness into her place where she is nourished for a time, 8 times, and a half a time from the face of the serpent. So 1,260 days equals a time, a times, and a half a time. A time refers to 1 year. Times means 2 years, and a half time means a half a year. So we see that 1,260 days equals 3.5 years, or how many days? 360 days makes up a year. Are you following me? So in a biblically prophetic year, it's 360 days. I think everyone knows that, pretty much. I guess you didn't know, now you do. Okay. Now, look at Daniel 9:25. In Daniel 9:25, Daniel speaking, he says, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem to Messiah the Prince will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street will be built again, and the wall even in troublous times." Now here's the amazing thing. It didn't say 69 weeks. It divided it up. 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And 7 and 62 is 69. That leaves you 1 week left, which is the 70 weeks of Daniel, the prophecy. The last week refers to the tribulation. Everyone following me here? I don't want to go too fast. I want you to get this. But how many of you have heard of Isaac Newton? Isaac Newton was a tremendous biblical scholar who loved Israel and knew Israel had a great plan toward the end of his life. He forsook astronomy and totally focused on prophecy in the book of Daniel. And he wrote in his own literature that this particular verse, he saw how it was divided up, and he said the 7 weeks refers to his second coming, and the 62 weeks referred to his first coming. Just like Isaiah 61. Well, what's interesting about 7 weeks, it's not literally 7 weeks. How long is it? Okay, and a week is 7 years, so what's 7 times 7? Okay, so 7 weeks is how many years? 49 years. And do you see a pattern of the 50th year being the Jubilee? You have the 49 years, you have the Shemitah year, every 7th year. So we see here in this pattern, he's saying, let's look at this as a dual prophecy. Prophecy is fulfilled over and over again. When did Israel capture Jerusalem again? In June 7th of 1967. And in June 7th, 1967, we see Jerusalem was restored. So if we take that verse and we say, okay, if that refers to the second coming, how many days from June 7th, 1967, if you count prophetic biblical days all the way down, where do we end up? Okay, turn the back of your page. Or somewhere around there. June 7th, 1967, Jerusalem was restored to Israel and began to be built up in troublous times. Now, 49 prophetic years times 360 days is 17,640 days. So let's count from June 7th, 1967 forward to the day of 17,640 days and see where it takes us. If you take 1967, June 7th to June 30th is 23 days, and then you look at the rest of the year, you have 207 days, right? You go to the back of your page now, and now we start to count. 1967, we have 207 days, correct? Now, I have on here your leap years even. You'll see 366 and 365. And you go all the way to the year 2014, you'll see there's 17,374 days. Now, that leads us into 2015. And here I have how many days are in the month, all the way down to the end of August. There's 243 days. So you add that up, we have 17,617 days. Okay? Well, we know we needed 17,640, so you subtract 17,617, you have 23 days. So you go from September 1st, 23 days, it puts you at September 23rd, 2015, which is Yom Kippur, to the day. Now that's just an interesting math fact, yes? No, because these are literal days. These are literal days, but it's going to be different on the number of years, okay? Yeah, these are literal days. You see, I'm counting every literal day. But you take a biblical prophetic year and you use that to count every literal day, you end up exactly to the day from the commandment to restore Jerusalem in 67, that many days to exactly Yom Kippur in 2015, to the day. Now, I didn't see this. This someone else saw. I got this from someone else, which I thought was quite fascinating. But I've always thought 2015 was an interesting year. So my thought was, okay, let's go to the NASA's website, because if 2015 is the key year, there better be total lunar eclipses, total solar eclipses, somewhere around there. Does that make sense? We want to confirm things. Now again, this is only a watch, not a warning, but watch this. Okay, this is just the other day, the total lunar eclipse that they had over the Temple Mount. Isn't that gorgeous? Here's another one. As it's moving. Just gorgeous. Okay. I went to this is from the government website, guys. It lists the total, or it lists all eclipses, lunar eclipses, total and penumbral and partial and all that stuff. From 2011 to 2020. It gives them in 10-year increments. So I went down, and this is off my computer. As you can see, I hit these, which is why they're yellow instead of red. I thought 2015 would be significant, 2014 would be significant. And so, but when you see this, you see September 28th, April 4th, October 8th, April 15th. To us, that means nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. But here's something else I want to bring out. If you'll notice, there's what's called the Saros. And these total lunar eclipses are all in a different Saros. 122, 127, 132, 137. Does anyone know what a Saros is? Okay, well, I didn't either, so don't feel alone. So you can click on it and find out what Saros means. Basically what it means, it's like each one of these total lunar eclipses, you can't take a lunar eclipse by itself. They are in a pattern over thousands of years. And a different Saros would be like where it goes on the longitude, latitude, as far as where it goes across the earth. Okay? So think of at Las Vegas, you got the slot machine, the 4 cherries come down. Okay? It's not like one cherry moving. There's 4 different cycles that are happening. Okay? So what we are seeing here is, first off, God is not random. Astronomy is very mathematical. And you know the odds of all 4 cherries coming up are very rare, which is why people hardly never win. And when all of a sudden you start seeing everything start lining up, that tells you there's a pattern here. Well, get a load of this. Let's start with, I think, we're going to look at September 28th, 2015. We have the next picture. Oh no, let's go back. Okay, we're going to go with April 15th, 2014. Okay, we're going to start there. April 15, 2014. Now I went from there to my biblical calendar on the computer, and I went to that, and you're going to see at the top of the calendar, April 15th, 2014, right here. April 14th, 2014. Is that what I said? Okay, let's look at April 15th. I just put in the wrong one, but it's going to be right next to it. Okay. You have Nisan 14, so April 15th is Nisan 15, Passover. So the first total lunar eclipse in 2014 is on Passover. You got that? There it is. Okay, now let's look at October 8th, 2014. Okay? October 8th, 2014. When does that fall? Now this is the year leading up to 2015. Okay, October 8th, 2014. October 2014, Tishri 14, Erev Sukkot. Because it's evening and morning the next day, it literally starts on the first day of Sukkot. So here, the first total lunar eclipse in 2014 falls on the first day of Passover. The second total lunar eclipse of 2014 falls on the first day of Sukkot. Okay? Now, the next one was April 4th of 2015. Now, see, we don't see any connection here. But let's look what April 4th, 2015 is. Nisan 15, Passover again. It falls, the 2015, there's only two total lunar eclipses both years. The first one falls on Passover, the second one falls on Passover, the first one falls on Sukkot. Okay? So here we go. The last one, September 28th of 2015. History 15, Sukkot again. The first day of Sukkot. So here you have, again, 2014, a total lunar eclipse on the first day of Passover, total lunar eclipse on Sukkot. 2015, total lunar eclipse on Passover, total lunar eclipse on Sukkot. You see a pattern there you didn't see before. Okay, yes? Right. Yeah. Now you're going to see some things very unusual. Here's the other thing. The reason, first off, is they're in different Saros cycles. All of these are in different cycles, too. Okay, but you're right. There's only two both those years, and they were in. But if you notice, they're all in a different cycle. Okay, you see, they're all in a different cycle here. That's what's very important. So it's not like the same total lunar eclipse in the same place is happening over and over. It's all these cycles are coming together at the same time, and they're falling on the biblical feast days. Now watch this. What I did, because 2015 is the year I thought was very significant, especially tied to Yom Kippur, and what we just saw happen on Yom Kippur, I went and clicked number 137 to look at the Saros cycle, which mentions that total lunar eclipse pattern over 1,000 years forward. Okay, it went here from 1500 to like 2900. Okay, I mean, it lists them all for like 1500 years that are just in this particular cycle. Because God sets the sun, the moon, and the stars for signs, and God's a mathematician, and he kind of has astronomy down, I figured there would be a logical pattern. When God steps, and God's not random. Wait till you see this. This is 130, just Saros 130. Actually, I think I have all four on the same sheet here. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, okay, I'm doing it a step at a time. Here was September 28th of 2015. Okay? And that was, we know, is the feast of what? Sukkot. Now, if we look at these dates, it goes to 2033, 2051, 1997, 79, 61, 43, 45. And this was just one blip of this whole sheet that goes clear back to the 1500s and all the way forward to the year 3000. But I took this one blip, and I began to notice a pattern right away. There is roughly 18 to 19 years between each one of these. Okay? The biblical calendar is based on an 18, 19-year cycle. You know how we add one leap day every 4 years? They add a whole leap month 7 times in a 19-year time period because they keep it according to the solar lunar calendar. So I noticed the Saros cycle is based on the biblical calendar. So I said, if the Saros cycle is based on the biblical calendar, there has to be a pattern. Guess what October 8th of 2033 is? It is Sukkot. Again. in this Saros cycle. Wow, I think I've seen a pattern. So then, I said, well, let's take another look at this cycle. So then I said, well, let's look at these days. When do these days fall? We have, obviously, it can't be Sukkot because you have August and July. But do you notice a repetition of September? A repetition of August and July? They're different days, so on our calendar it doesn't mean anything, does it? Wait till you see the biblical calendar. For all 4 Saroses, I have all 4 cycles here. Coming up. Here is Saros 137. It was Tishri 15. Now going backwards, Elul 14. In 79, Elul 14. In 1961, Elul 14. And then in 43, Av 14, Av 14, Av 14. Tammuz 13, Tammuz 13. Does anyone notice a pattern? Even though they're completely random on our calendar, what you're seeing here, and these are all 4 of the total lunar eclipses in 2014 and 2015, the years when there's the reoccurrence of that line. But if you notice, every single one of them follow a same pattern, and it is the biblical calendar. It's like God takes 1 month and has over 50 years. All of them are in the month of Av. The next 50 years, they're all in the month of Elul. The next 50 years are all in the month of Tishri, which is the 4th month, the 5th month, the 6th month, the 7th month. So the biblical calendar, all of these total lunar eclipses are based on the biblical calendar. Do you see that? Do you see the pattern here? Now, what is fascinating to me is, what happened in the month of Av? Destruction. 9th of Av. Av is bad. Okay? Av means judgment. And when you think of that, from 1907 to 1961, did we see judgment in the world? World War I, World War II. Then what do we find? From 61 to 97 is Elul, which is return. Israel's return to the land. 67, Jerusalem's return to Israel. We're seeing a pattern now of things being returned, restoration. And that brings us, God is marching into the next generation, which is the month of Tishri, which is the 7th month, which is the return of the Messiah. You can just see it marching, biblically, the months marching every 50 years. Now. And you can see the pattern here. And every single cycle is based on that. Now, I went to the solar eclipses. Okay, the lunar eclipses are pretty awesome. Okay, you can see that. But I thought, oh, let's take a look at the solar eclipses, because it says the moon will turn to blood, but the sun is to turn black. So that means if 2015 is significant, there also needs to be a solar eclipse somewhere in there. Okay? So I look down here at the bottom. Well, I see March 20th of 2015 is the total. I see a partial October 23rd of 2014, and then I see another partial September 23rd of 2015. So I think, whoa, there's solar eclipses, some totals, some partials in that same time period. Guess when they fall? Okay? Let me go back, see what I got here. What did I do? Okay, March 20th of 2015 is what we're looking at, okay? It's Adar 29. What is significant about Adar 29? The next day is Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the religious year, Nisan 1. So here we have a total solar eclipse on the first day of the religious year. God is saying, okay, this year is ended, Adar 29. We're beginning it with a total solar eclipse, the religious year of 2015. The year begins with a total solar eclipse. Okay, now, let me look at the next one. Okay, September 13th of 2015, down here. There's a partial solar eclipse, okay? And what is September 13 of 2015? Elul 29, the day before the Feast of Trumpets. Reverse day of Rosh Hashanah, at that night. So the Feast of Trumpets, you have another partial solar eclipse. You see any patterns to the biblical holidays with these? So to summarize, in 2014, we have a total lunar eclipse on Nisan 15, which is Passover, 14-15. A total lunar eclipse on Tishri 14, which is Erev Sukkot. Now here's the other thing is, it's a Shemitah year, 2014 to 2015. What does that mean? You know this year is a Shemitah year? That means it's the 7th year of a 7-year cycle. Well, it so happens that also is a Shemitah year, which means 2015 to 2016 could be a Jubilee year, because a Jubilee year has to follow a Shemitah year. Okay, the 49 years and then the 50th year. And we saw Daniel's 49 years to the Messiah. Well, 2015 is the 49th year also from capturing Jerusalem, and the year of Jubilee is always proclaimed on Yom Kippur. And so that brings us to 2015. We have a total solar eclipse on Nisan 1, Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the new religious year, a total lunar eclipse on Nisan 15, unleavened bread, solar eclipse on Tishri 1, the first day of trumpets, the beginning of the civil year. Yom Kippur is exactly to the date of the 49 biblical years from June 7, 67, the restoration of Jerusalem, and was also the first year of a new cycle of a Shemitah year. And then we have a total lunar eclipse on Tishri 15, the first day of Sukkot. So here we go. Passover 2014, total lunar eclipse. Sukkot 2014, total lunar eclipse. Nisan 1, total solar eclipse. 2015, Passover, total lunar eclipse. Rosh Hashanah, partial solar eclipse. Sukkot, total lunar eclipse. And right in the middle is Yom Kippur, 49 years, beginning the 50th year of Jubilee. Now, this, to me, is kind of fascinating. Okay? You can go check this out yourself on the website, looking at the 2 websites I gave you, the government page of solar lunar eclipses, h.com. Now, I'm not saying this is a warning, but I sure would watch closely. But to me, this is amazing stuff. I mean, and this is not, I'm not saying go sell everything you have and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that be watching. We need to be watching. Does that make sense?
Well, that was it. Hey, you know, take it for what it's worth. I thought it was pretty exciting stuff. I know it sounds like Mark's talking another language, especially if you're not familiar with the Feast of the Lord. And if you're not, I encourage you again to, you know, go out on YouTube, listen to some of Mark's videos. But I hope you enjoyed it, and, you know, hey, let's just keep watching. All right, God bless.